Hello, and welcome to the Battery Low Podcast. I'm Zach.
No, more energy. This is a big deal, Zach. We need more energy.
Okay.
I want it big or I want it nothing.
Hello, and welcome to the Battery Low Podcast. I am Zach. Was that better?
Yeah, say your name.
I'm Zach.
I'm Matt.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to redo that one too. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to the Battery Low Podcast. I am Zach.
I'm Matt.
And today we are talking about the D23 showcase and everything that it came with. Matt, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good. I am exhausted because of how busy the past month has been with all of this news. It's been crazy.
Yeah. It really had it almost unexpectedly for me because we had the Nintendo Direct, we had the PlayStation stuff, we had the Ubisoft Forward, we had the Call of Duty Next stuff that came out, D23. Like there was just so much news coming out it was exhausting and hard to keep up with. But I'm excited to talk about D23 today and maybe the rest of that nonsense another time. But
it's like we got a second E3 this year. It's crazy. What are we doing? I know. Just like these times, Zach, this is unprecedented.
This is unprecedented. It is. And it is odd. It's kind of a interesting time to do this. Yeah. Like, I don't know that we've had a big fall. I mean, I guess PlayStation typically has like a September thing. This is the first Call of Duty Next, though. There was just so much. There was a lot. There was a lot happening this week.
That's not what this episode's about. This episode's all about our favorite announcements, the highlights, the big headlines from D23. From Disney and Marvel video games to the MCU, Star Wars, the rest of it. And then I'll be talking theme parks on a special episode of Matt's Disney Takeover. Look forward to that showing up in this feed and for me to be very excited about a lot of those things.
Yeah. There's a lot to be excited about. So let's jump in.
We're going to jump right into it.
We're going to jump right in. I was going to say, forget about games for a moment. We're talking Disney, but we're talking games, too. There was, for the first time ever, a Disney and Marvel video games showcase at D23, which was really exciting. Maybe the shortest showcase I've ever seen.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. They were like
so fast.
They put a big block on the live stream schedule, but then it was just like 23 minutes of just like, here's a game, here's a game, here's a game. And it was like, I need Zen. I need to slow down. I need you to tell me about these video games. Because, I mean, it was cool that there was a lot of things that they talked about, but it was also just an unrelenting pace.
Yes. Yeah. And it was quite full. Like, they probably could have slowed down and had some dev comments and content, right? Like, they easily could have spread that out. But, and Blessing Adeoye Jr. was the person who hosted it from Kind of Funny. I thought he did a great job. He did a little like Q&A with some people afterwards, so there was that. It wasn't streamed, but at least I don't think. But he did have something. But even in that, like something would play and he'd be like, "Yo, that looks dope. Here's the next thing." And it's like, "Wow, we're just really moving on."
It's interesting because a lot of us gamers, we don't like the 3-hour showcases where they just go on and on about a single game. If we're not interested in the game, spending 10 minutes on another farming simulator in the case of Nintendo, is like not worth it. But this was a little bit on the other end of the spectrum where it was like, I don't even know what you just said. There's so much happening.
I know. So some of the highlights from that, and I think the headline is this Untitled World War II set game with Captain America and Black Panther teaming up from Amy Hennig. Hennig? I don't know how to say her last name. She did the Uncharted games, which people love. Those were I think pretty universally well received. And And so she is now taking that talent into the Marvel world, which this was pretty unexpected. One, for us to have a Captain America and Black Panther team up. Like, we've been seeing more Marvel characters having their own solo games, right? Like, we have the Spider-Man. That's obviously popular. We have Wolverine that's coming up. But this, I think before this, I expected Captain America or Black Panther to have their own games. But what's interesting is that the rumors say that Black Panther is getting his own game, as is Iron Man. But we also have this kind of tag team game where there's actually 4 people. You play as Captain America, Black Panther. You can play as Dormelage, is that how you say it? The black. Yeah. You can play as one of them, and then you can also play as a World War II soldier, which that guy got the short end of the stick on this one, right?
Who's going to pick that guy?
I know. Well, I think there are some missions that are meant for him, so I think it's going to, like, narratively, you're going to have to play as him at some point.
You're talking about, so they're giving us MJ levels. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's like I can either play as Captain America, Black Panther, a Dora Milaje, or a World War II vet. And so
a guy.
Yeah, this is going to be hard. But Matt, what's your take on this? Like, were you surprised by this? What are your overall thoughts?
I was pleasantly surprised because most of the showcase, and it kind of was a tricky little guy, this showcase, because it opened up with a big montage of like all of the Disney, Marvel, Star Wars stuff coming out. So there was like Jedi Survivor in there. There was like Lego Star Wars. There was like blah, 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 like a bunch of stuff. And then some of it turned out to be something like Lego Star Wars getting character packs. And some of it turned out to be nothing. Like they did not mention Jedi Survivor at all.
I know.
Same with they like acknowledged the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game and then just didn't say anything else about it. But most of the showcase was like kid games or like some stuff that I wasn't super interested in. And then out of nowhere, they closed the stream with this, right? It was like one of the last ones. And it was like it was suddenly like a very different tone. It was graphically like really impressive. And then you see Cap's shield with some scratches on it. And then you see freaking Cap and Black Panther in a hallway. And it's like, what? Excuse me? I'm really excited about it. I love the idea of like a big third-person action adventure game, which I'm assuming it's going to be since it's the Uncharted lady.
I would imagine
with Uncharted quality, storytelling and character development and dialogue. Because that's what people love about the Uncharted games is like the big set pieces and the the good character work that they do. And so I'm excited to see that apply to a Marvel game. It kind of sounds like the Avengers game that I wanted the Marvel's Avengers game to be in the first place. I just hope this one also doesn't get bogged down by an annoying loot system that I know some people like, but I thought it was distracting.
Yeah, how dare you talk about...
I'm really excited for this.
I was going to say, how dare you talk about 2020's best game, Marvel's Avengers, that way.
Wow.
No, that's not true. I did like that game, but it wasn't the best. I agree with you. I think this is more exciting than anything. We do need more info on it. Like, I would love to wait until I see like a trailer or like a gameplay footage before I make any.
Or the name. It's weird they didn't give the name.
The name, yeah. You have to think it's so far out. I mean, we didn't even get a release date, so you have to imagine it's far enough out where it's like, okay, let's generate some hype for this, but let's also kind of pump the brakes on.
Yeah, and if you didn't see it, it was just a cinematic. Like, there was no gameplay at all, so it's very early.
So, I also think, having more mainstream original Marvel stories will be good. I think that helps with sort of the MCU fatigue a little bit when it comes to that of like, what is it going to look like for me to interact with a Captain America that's not Chris Evans? Or, like, this Black Panther isn't even T'Challa, it's Azuri. It's T'Challa's grandpa or great grandpa or something like that. And so
something like that.
It's like, wow, what is it gonna look like for us to have a Black Panther? Which I guess we'll get that answer in November with Wakanda Forever, potentially. But all that to say, I'm excited to get more original Marvel stories. I think they're going to be interesting. But after that, we got maybe the biggest letdown of the showcase.
Oh my gosh.
Which is this narrative-focused puzzle mystery game, Tron Identity, which comes out next year. Let me hear it, Matt. How does this hit you?
Let me set the scene. D23 starts. I'm the biggest Disney fan on the planet, and I'm hyped, okay? They're live streaming most of it. They haven't done one since 2019, and they're doing a games showcase this year. It's Disney, it's Marvel, it's video games, it's hype. I'm in, okay? They do that awesome intro where they show, like, Avatar and Star Wars and blah, and I'm like, ah! And I'm also hoping to hear about the Indiana Jones game, which they also did not mention. And then they show a freaking Tron disc, and it's like lighting up and booting up, and then like the music is all synthy and it's like all dramatic, and then it just is like Tron Identity, and I'm like, oh, what's that? A new big Tron game? I love Tron. Okay, the aesthetics of Tron have informed my sort of aesthetic preferences more than you can know. Right? It's so cool. I love the universe. I love the ride that we'll talk about later in my episode of the podcast. And I would love a new big AAA action something game in the Tron universe. Yeah. And that's what I don't know. I don't know what it was. And then it was later revealed that this is a visual novel. Wah, wah. Right? Yeah. A visual novel. It's a book. It's a video game book. And that's not. I'm happy for all the fans of those things, but I'm severely disappointed by this.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like you could create such a fun action game in the Tron universe, and they just haven't. You know what I mean? And I don't really know what they're sitting on. Maybe they don't have an idea for it, but I agree. It was pretty disappointing. I wish we had gotten more, but
maybe they're just testing out the water to see if people still like Tron. Maybe they're like, let's not put a ton of resources into like a big game that like nobody's gonna care about. Let's just slip them this little book and see if people like it.
Yeah, true. We also got a glimpse at Marvel World of Heroes from Pokemon Go developer Niantic, which is an AR mobile game. Marvel Go is coming to your phones in 2023. I'm actually pretty excited about this. I still play Pokemon Go pretty regularly. I'm definitely not in like a daily rhythm like I have been in the past, but still, kind of keep an ear to the ground on what's happening, still play it pretty regularly. And also just think it's a good formula. Like I would be excited to see more games kind of come out this way, but that's really all we got about it. We just saw people walking through a park and all of a sudden they had Marvel powers, and then they said Marvel World of Heroes coming out next year. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see for what that is. But I generally feel kind of excited about it.
Yeah, I trust Niantic. I think Pikmin Bloom looks pretty fun, and Pokemon Go has been a hoot. I'm still playing that. I'm curious
shut down
what it's going to be.
The Hogwarts one, the Harry Potter one? Didn't that get shut down?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard about it in a long time. That's a good point. I don't know.
So they haven't all been hits.
No, they haven't all been hits. But I'm just curious what the main thing you're going to be doing in this game is. Like, you can't just be going around catching your Iron Mans. Like, what are we going to be doing? But I like the I don't know, concept of going outside and doing some superhero stuff while I'm walking. Gives me something to distract me from the fact that I'm walking outside.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks fun. Lastly, we also got a first look at a mobile MMO shooter. Now we're talking my language. Avatar Reckoning, which they just said is coming soon. So this is a MMO third-person RPG shooter set in the Avatar universe on your phone, which I think will be really interesting. I don't really know what to think about it other than that. I will say this though. So the day we're recording this is also the day that the Call of Duty Next stream was, and they're coming out with Warzone mobile. And every time I see mobile games like that, I think to myself now, how can phones play such a thing? However, I feel more and more surprised the like bigger and bigger mobile games that I play. Even Call of Duty Mobile, like I had a little stint in, and like that was really fun. So I'm actually kind of excited about this. I surely will download it and check it out and see what it's about. But yeah, what do you think?
I'm conflicted. I don't know. I don't get the idea of keeping it exclusive to mobile. I don't see that point. I'm not a big mobile gamer. The only mobile game I have is Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's very fun to use touch controls. And it looks like graphically for a mobile game, it looks pretty good. So like a Switch release, would make sense. I think. So I don't know. Sure, I'm glad there's more Avatar stuff because I like Avatar now because I went to the theme park in Florida and it was amazing. So I'm just into Avatar, I guess. But I don't know. This one really doesn't appeal to me that much. And I didn't know it was an MMO. That's wild.
Yeah. It's going to be Destiny on your phone, which makes me want Destiny on my phone.
Why?
Anyway,
that's just a lesser experience of the game you already play on two consoles or two systems.
That's a different podcast for a different time.
Okay.
To correct myself, Harry Potter Wizards Unite was the Niantic game that came out. And yes, it shut down January 31st, 2022. So it lasted just a couple of years, and they've shut it down. So we'll see. We will see how Marvel World of Heroes does. I think as popular as Harry Potter is, I think Marvel is probably the bigger and more engaging IP, especially currently.
Sure.
So yeah, we'll have to see about that. But that was the Disney and Marvel Video Games Showcase. Definitely some stuff to be excited about. But moving on, talking about Marvel movies, we got a lot of info here. We got info about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which comes out this November. We got info about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. WandaVision director Matt Shakman, it was revealed that he will be helming the Fantastic Four movie, which will be coming out in 2024. Captain America New World Order got some info. Thunderbolts lineup, we also got some stuff about the Marvels movie with
oh my gosh.
Monica Rambeau, I know, Carol Danvers, and Kamala Khan. And also, no more Guardians of the Galaxy info was released here, but we did get some stuff at Comic-Con earlier in the summer. So, I just kind of breezed through all of that. But what stands out to you here, Matt? What are you looking forward to?
What stands out to me is that we're saying we got info, and yes and no. The people there got info. None of the things that Zach just mentioned were there were trailers that were released online. It was all convention exclusive, all for the people at D23. And the things that we do know were are trailer descriptions from people that were there and a few little releases that they put out. But it really wasn't much. They mostly focused on showing stuff from Disney Plus, and even that it wasn't a lot. But I kind of get it. They did just do like a big info and trailer dump at San Diego Comic-Con. That's why I put that note there about Guardians. Is like Guardians, I expected a trailer because they showed a trailer at Comic-Con. That was months ago. So surely it's ready to show to the public now, but we didn't get it. So no Marvel movie trailer, which was so strange. And there's so many you could have shown to get people hyped. And the thing that people are talking about the most is just that there was a cast announcement for Thunderbolts. And I don't even really know what that is, so I don't even really know what to be excited about here. And they didn't tell me. They just said, these are the people that are going to be in this thing. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. To answer your question, though, them showing more Black Panther footage would probably be the thing I would be talking about the most if I had seen it. Because that and Guardians are the two Marvel projects that I'm the most excited for.
Sure.
So those are probably the things that I'll be keeping my eye on. But because Ant-Man and the Wasp, apparently Kang was in it in the trailer, and he looked awesome and was scary. That's cool. The Ant-Man movies are kind of just there. I have fun with them, but I think the director kind of holds them back. I think he has sort of a bland visual style and directing style for something that should be like fun and over the top. He kind of keeps it kind of grounded and boring, in my opinion, visually. So I don't know. I'm not super excited about it for the Ant-Man and the Wasp stuff. I'm more interested to see Kang show up properly.
Yeah.
But that's about it for my reactions to this movie stuff. It really wasn't a lot to go on because it was all convention exclusive.
Yeah. I agree with you. I do find it interesting. One, I think the behind closed doors stuff is always interesting. Like, why not just stream this? You know?
There's two sides to that, right? It's a big event trying to get everybody hyped, but it's also an expensive ticketed event, and you want to give the people their value, right? So there's a balance there.
Yeah. I think regardless, Marvel fills that auditorium, though.
Sure.
Is the thing. And so, whether or not they show it the day of or, live stream it alongside, I think they make their money. You know what I mean? Which that could be proved wrong, but I agree with you. I wish we would have seen more just as a public and not just there. I do think it's interesting that the cadence of this was, okay, let's go all in on San Diego Comic-Con, right? And then when D23 hits, let's just kind of like keep the good vibes rolling. You know what I mean? They didn't really like release a whole lot of new stuff. It was like, okay, we like have seen a lot about Black Panther already, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like they gave like a good glimpse at Comic-Con. Some of the stuff we
a poster.
Yeah. And like some of the stuff is new, like WandaVision director doing Fantastic Four, that's new. We got a little bit more about the new Captain America movie. Obviously, the lineup for Thunderbolts is new. So we did get more, but it was just like, it's almost like Marvel turned in like an essay to me, and I returned it, and I was like, just give me a little more info. And then they did, It's like, they didn't really expand upon that, expand on that. When at Comic-Con, they like showed a whole timeline of Phase 4, and then they showed, a timeline of Phase 5, and then they showed Phase 6 with like a bunch of question marks, and they kind of alluded like you're going to get this info at D23, and then we just didn't. And so it's just kind of interesting that it seems like at Comic-Con they were so forthcoming with information, and then they didn't really give us a whole lot more here. All that to say though, like the stuff that I am seeing, I'm excited about,
Sure.
I think the plot of Black Panther, which comes out this year, by the way, in King T'Challa's death and the world trying to get vibranium and like everything that's coming with that, like that just is kind of an interesting thing. I'll be interested to see how they handle the death of Chadwick Boseman and how that plays out. But what feels weird to me is like that's the end of Phase 4. Like between Endgame and yeah, in a word, or in a phrase, and then it's like we just really jump on the wagon for Phase 5 in February with Ant-Man, which hopefully will just like hit the ground running, right? Because I think that's the thing about Phase 4 is like we kind of were in this transitionary period of like, okay, the Infinity Saga's over, we're now trying to ramp up a new story. COVID did not help with the pacing of that, but it just felt off, and so now it's like, okay, can we get Marvel back to doing things in the order that they want to do it in and really nailing all of this stuff, and I think they will. So I'm excited about it going forward. I'm excited that Phase 5 will only be like a couple years. It won't last as long as Phase 4 did, and will be jam-packed with stuff also. But
here's a question for you. Do you think they're not showing a bunch of movie trailers because they don't want people to get like confused and overwhelmed more than they already are, and they just want people to be like, Movie-wise, Black Panther's coming out. Go see Black Panther, and then we'll talk. You think that's what they're trying to do? Like, try and focus people, kind of try and funnel people, and maybe the Ant-Man trailer, like, plays in the theater with Black Panther, like it debuts alongside it, or maybe after, a little bit after, just so that, you know, they can kind of one at a time it, you know, instead of just like shotgun blasting it. Like, here's all these trailers, here's a big timeline, go figure it out. Maybe they're just trying to be like, here's one at a time. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Perhaps. I definitely think like Marvel fatigue, but also like just Marvel overwhelmedness, if I can create that word here, is definitely a thing. You know, like I think about someone like my parents, who I had convinced to watch, you know, Phase 1, 2, and 3 after Endgame, and said like, yeah, just watch all this. It's all on Disney Plus. Go for it. And they loved it. And then now they're curious of like, okay, what do I watch now? It's like, okay, you're going to watch this series and then this movie. Don't watch this before this. You know, it just kind of is almost too much. And I think there was a little bit of a scramble in Phase 4 of like the original release order didn't really come to fruition. And so now they're changing plots and they're changing things. And not that it didn't all make sense, but I just think the biggest detriment to Phase 4 was that Phase 3 felt so connected and polished, where Phase 4 felt like I'm reading individual comic books again.
That's a really good way to put it.
And that was a really, like, it was almost like a whiplash of change. And so I'm hoping that we can get to a more regular cadence of things feeling connected, and, you know, things having... But it's hard. I'm about to contradict myself. I was about to say I want things to feel connected, but I also want things to feel like contained, because I think that's the hard part. Is like, you know, you watch a movie like Infinity War, and you can't just watch Infinity War and get the whole story, right? But it does feel like its own movie, if that makes sense. Where it's like, you know, I watch something like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or even like Spider-Man No Way Home, and it's like, okay, there's definitely more here, and you just kind of left it there in a way, and it just kind of felt like an episode in a bigger story, rather than like a movie that I could probably watch again. And so
I don't necessarily need the story to be like, this can exist on its own. I just want the quality of the film to be a good film, a standalone film like that, in the sense that like, this is a well executed movie that also happens to be telling a bigger story. Because I just feel like the quality kind of dropped off with Phase 4 with some of the projects, and probably a lot of that's pandemic related. But I'm definitely looking forward to them sort of, if refocusing is what's happening, I'm all for it.
Yeah, but that's a tricky line to balance, right? Because it like, my favorite Marvel movie is Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and
I thought it was First Avenger.
Oh, it is the First Avenger. My second favorite Marvel movie is Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Big cap head over there.
I am a big cap head. That's absolutely true. But the reason that's one of my favorites is because, like, you watch that movie and, knowing the MCU, you know it comes before it. You know that something's gonna come after it, but it is absolutely its own movie. It's like, I can watch it. It's start to finish. It has its own kind of storyline, and I feel like we're kind of losing that a little bit. That line is becoming looser and looser, and so I would like to see them tighten that up a little bit and kind of get back to releasing movies like that, where and even watching that movie, The Winter Soldier, I don't watch it and think like, wow, what a marvel of CG. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, wow, I could tell that, you know, that didn't look great. You know, there are moments like that, but that's still a great movie just because of its pacing and its story and kind of how it falls into the bigger picture. But I can watch that movie and then stop and be like, wow, what a great movie. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I'm looking for again. Hopefully, again, we can get back to that, but I think what complicates that, and kind of moving into what we're going to next, if you have nothing else to say, is Marvel series and specials that were announced. So I'm going to rapid hit these two. So I think there was actually only one special. I think all of these are series, and then we have this Werewolf by Night, which will be the first MCU Halloween special that comes to. Yeah, whoa! There's a wolf here, I think. That is coming this October, and is gonna be. I think it's kind of its own standalone thing. I don't know if it'll be required watching for MCU story beats, but we also got some information about Ironheart, where we will see tech and magic do battles, what they said.
Wow.
Secret Invasion also got a trailer, and we are getting a story more about Nick Fury and kind of getting that fleshed out, which I'm really excited for. Armor Wars will pick up where Secret Invasion left off, and that will follow Rhodey and War Machine and his story. Loki Season 2, which is the best Disney MCU series, I think, thus far. So excited to see Season 2 be hitting Disney Plus in summer 2023. That's objective. No one disagrees with me. There's no possible way anybody could think any different. We also got Echo, which streams on Disney Plus, quote, soon, is what they said. We got a trailer that's following Echo, who we first saw in Hawkeye, and also Kingpin, or Wilson Fisk, is making a return.
The trailer was a D23 convention exclusive. It was not released publicly online.
As is everything in these behind closed doors events. And then lastly, Daredevil Born Again is getting 18 episodes on Disney Plus, and it'll start shooting next year. And that's what we got. So Matt, give it to me here. What do you think?
Okay, so out of those things, the only things we got trailers for online were Werewolf by Night and Secret Invasion, and those are the things that I'm most excited about anyways. Loki, I have my issues with it. I thought it was interesting until the finale, but I'm going to talk about Secret Invasion first. I kind of love this trailer.
Yeah.
In a way that I haven't loved an MCU trailer in a while, because it's so Winter Soldier. It's so sort of like espionage and sort of what's going on there, and I do like that kind of stuff. Kind of a political thriller, double crossing, and it feels like almost like a Mission Impossible movie, but in the MCU, with frickin' Samuel L. Jackson as the star. So I'm very, very much sold.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about this series. I love Fury and Rhodey, and I think they're a good duo if they do end up being a duo. And the Skrulls, I mean, people have been talking about Secret Invasion ever since the Skrulls were introduced in the MCU, so I'm excited to sort of get into that storyline because I don't know too much about it other than shape-shifting, who's one of them, who's not. It's a little game.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm excited about this. This was really interesting to me. Were you as excited about Secret Invasion, or was that just kind of me popping off in the corner here and you being like, oh, whatever?
No, I am very interested about Secret Invasion. I will say this. I think I'm actually more interested about the series that are coming out than the movies, which has been my opposite experience thus far. I think I have been, for Phase 4, I was much more interested in the theatrical and movie releases than I was anything that was coming to Disney Plus. However, when I read down this line, I'm interested in Ironheart. I'm interested in Armor Wars. I'm interested in Loki Season 2. Same Secret Invasion. I think I really love the interaction that the MCU has with S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.W.O.R.D. for that matter. And want to see more of that. I think we've been a little Nick Fury deprived. Maybe since Spider-Man Far From Home? Was that his last appearance?
And it wasn't even really him. That was a Skrull impersonating him.
You're so right.
He was in space.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we haven't seen Nick Fury in a long time. And I'm excited for him to return to the screen. I will say, I think the reason I feel so interested in the Disney series opposed to the movies is because I think I have the big question right now of, like, how are we going to have like the Winter Soldier and Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel like fighting the same battle. And I kind of felt that way even in Infinity War, because you would see like Thor come down with his hammer and lightning, and you'd even see like Black Panther and Captain America running out there, and then it's like, oh, here's the Winter Soldier in Rocket just like shooting their assault rifles. You know, it's like,
oh, what a nerdy problem. Oh my gosh.
It's true. But it's like, even in Endgame, it's like, wow, look at all this like Doctor Strange space magic we're getting, and then you know the Winter Soldier shooting his gun. And
but how will they match their power level in the next group battle?
It's true. I'm interested in that. I think it's an interesting. So even Ironheart saying that we'll see tech and magic do battle. I think that will answer a lot of my questions. Of like, you know, and I think Endgame also had a little bit of a cop out of like they were losing and then everyone came back, and then it was like kind of 50-50, and then they were losing again, and then it was like, wait, what are the guns pointing at? And then Captain Marvel just comes and like destroys the ship, you know? And it's like, well, why didn't Winter Soldier's assault rifle do that? You know, it just feels, I don't know. I see a lot of disparity in the powers. I know I'm being a little facetious in that statement, but I don't know. I find myself interested in sort of the immersion of that. I think the MCU immersion loses me a little bit when I feel like I don't know that these guys can actually beat these guys. You know what I mean? Which might just be me. Might just be a me problem. But I think that's a big question. Is like, where does Hawkeye continue to fall in this? And you know, I understand that aliens aren't the only bad guys. Obviously, you know, they're setting up a story with Kingpin. They're setting up Daredevil again, you know, and
yeah, I think like, Kevin Feige kind of addressed this at D23. He was talking about like the street level heroes and having sort of their group, their sect of the MCU, and then the cosmic side, right, or like the big powered up boys having their tussles. Because you got Spider-Man, you got Daredevil, you got both Hawkeyes, and they're kind of more interesting to me now, save for the Guardians of the Galaxy, just because the street stuff is more relatable, and I've kind of wanted a reset of the scales, as it were, and I think this street having explicitly like a street level and a cosmic level that I can kind of engage with, and that both levels get fed different kind of content is interesting to me. Yes, when they all have to fight Kang and punch him in the face, I do wonder how they'll match the power levels, but that's not as interesting to me as like, well, are these two levels going to be well done in their own right? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And so, again, maybe that's just a me problem, but I do find it interesting. So I'm excited to see, and I also just think I'm excited to see new things. Like the movies that are on the immediate horizon are Black Panther, Ant-Man, Captain America, even the Thunderbolts. Most of them, if not all of them, we've seen before, and so it's like there's not a whole lot of originality coming from that. Where it's like Ironheart, Secret Invasion, Armor Wars.
It does seem like they're using the series to introduce people, and then just the movies just have people now. Like, save for I guess Shang-Chi. And I guess the Eternals, but we don't talk about the Eternals.
Yeah, we don't talk about them. Who? No, I'm just joking. So I think that creates some interest in me, and I'm excited for that. So,
and because and speaking of that street level versus cosmic, Secret Invasion kind of has both in that case, because it's a seemingly grounded political thriller with aliens that can shapeshift. So that's kind of both, and I think that's interesting.
Give it to me. Yeah. I also think it's interesting. So we had the Daredevil series before now, right? And then we have Daredevil Born Again that's getting 18 episodes on Disney Plus. That feels huge. And so, especially
like an old school
considering, show. Yeah, like a real show. Not just like the 6 episode, things that we've been getting. So I'm really excited for that. We'll see, what comes of that, but
did you watch the original Daredevil show on Netflix?
I have not watched any of the Marvel on Netflix stuff. No.
Okay, same.
So I think it's Daredevil, Punisher is on there, right?
Jessica Jones.
And then they have their
Iron
own like
Fist.
group show, The Defenders, don't they?
Sure, they have a ton.
Yeah, all of that content I have not watched. I was too busy even catching up in the MCU. I'm still too busy catching up in the MCU now to go back and watch stuff that's not canon.
Aren't we all?
But all that to say, I do feel really excited about it. Anything else to say about Marvel, or have all of your thoughts been out there?
We got to talk about Werewolf by Night.
Oh, let me hear it.
This is the most insane thing they've ever done, maybe. It's so unhinged, and I love it. This is a weird black and white horror Halloween spooktacular that is like explicitly a Halloween special, complete with like old Hollywood narration, like you'll never be able to escape the terror. Like it's so charming. I have no idea what's happening. I don't know any of the characters. If they didn't have the Marvel logo in it, I would not have been able to tell you that it's Marvel. So I have no idea where this fits and whatever. I don't know if the werewolf's going to be punching Kang or not. But
sure.
It just is such a weird departure from everything else. And I kind of just gotta give him a hand clap, if I can say that in 2022. I don't know what that means. Because it's so weird. It's such a departure. It's such a bold experiment, maybe, to release something so strange. And Marvel's first ever explicitly Halloween thing. Which we'll talk about a little later, but I love that Disney is acknowledging that Halloween exists and is giving us some Halloween content.
Sure.
Because for a long time, they have not. So I do think it looks a little cheap. I do think taking digital film and slapping a black and white filter on it does not an old Hollywood film make. I think they should have used film, but I have to watch it. Because what? What is it? I need to know. What do you think?
Yeah. Kind of the same thing. I know Werewolf by Night is... Well, it was part of the comics, so I do know that. So they had a little comic run. That's essentially the extent of my knowledge. That's my question. Like, is this MCU? Is this like a spinoff? Is it a one-off? I think I saw somewhere that like the specials are not going to be like MCU canon, if that makes sense. So, like they're just going to kind of be like fun little tidbits. They're not going to be like revisited or built upon or anything like that. I think the same goes for the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special that we're getting eventually.
Oh yeah,
which will be a very fun and amazing, right? But I think this is the same thing. I don't think they'll build upon it at all. I just think it'll be kind of like a fun one-off. But yeah, well, I am excited. I'm excited to watch it. We'll just have to see, I guess.
Yup. I think, will that do it for Marvel for
I believe.
D23? Wow.
That does it for Marvel and D23. I know. Between the games and all the movies and stuff, it was quite a bit.
Yeah, big chunk.
But we have more coming up next. Star Wars, and so they focused primarily on just upcoming series. I don't think they announced any movies that are coming out. So
which
they
I have
mentioned
thoughts on.
I'm sure you do. Hold your horses. Let me talk about what they even talked about, sir.
All right, I'll rein in these ponies.
Rein in. Lasso them ponies. We had The Mandalorian Season 3. And I think we had a trailer for that. They mentioned it. We also got the final trailer for Andor and its 3-episode premiere coming very soon here. I think in just like a week. Ahsoka had some stuff revealed. We also caught a glimpse at Jude Law, who's starring in Skeleton Crew, about a group of people lost in space. And I don't know what caught a glimpse is. We did not get a trailer. I know that.
There was a picture that they showed.
Just so was it just a picture of Jude Law? Was it so here's Jude Law, you know what's coming next.
That's what Nintendo did with the Chris Pratt Mario announcement. But no, this was like a screenshot from the show.
Gotcha.
Or like a still from the show.
We are getting season 2 of Star Wars The Bad Batch, which is a spin-off of the Clone Wars, so that will kick off in January of 2023. And we also got Tales of the Jedi, which is 6 original CGI animated shorts about Ahsoka and Dooku. And I think that's coming out this year, October.
Yeah, boy.
Those were other things were announced. Those were kind of the Star Wars highlights for us. All right, Matt, let them horses ride. Broncos country, let's ride. What are your thoughts?
A deluge of ponies will be set upon you. Because Star Wars is my bread and butter. And 2 overall thoughts. 1, this is a good lineup of content. 2, it is disappointing that there was no movies. A surprise take. 3, although this batch of content is good, it looks good and well done and exciting, it is not something new. You know what I mean? Aside from maybe Skeleton Crew, all of this is the typical Star Wars thing we've seen since Episode 9 of what has been dubbed the in-betweenquels, where it's just what gaps exist in the Star Wars universe and how can we fill them. And I just think that's really old, and I would love to see them get away from this saga altogether. Like, we're technically not in the Skywalker saga because he's not showing up, but I just, this whole timeline, I think we need to move on from it. I think there needs to be room for new stories, because there, like, even in Obi-Wan, there was like plot holes and things that contradict, this thing, and how does he look that young when 9 years later he's going to look like Alec Guinness Obi-Wan? It's just like they're just setting themselves up for like a bunch of little traps, and I think it's avoidable. Just tell a new story completely separate from, I don't want the timeline for Star Wars is completely fricked at this point with all the little and in between 2 and 3 there's this and this one's a show and this one was a movie and blah blah blah, and it's just, oh my gosh, and this one was animated and this one was live action, but they're all canon. And this character was live action in Mandalorian, but was from an animated show in the Clone Wars set between 2, and it's a mess of a timeline, and I think they need to move on from it. That being said, the stuff looks pretty good.
Yeah. I completely agree. I'm a big advocate for, like, get me out of the Skywalker timeline. Like, let's, like, we've done it. It's been going on a long time.
It's been dead, boy, I tell you what.
It's been dead. And I personally am not a connoisseur of Star Wars novels, but I'm led to believe that there are some very interesting stories in other timelines that we could be definitely exploring and doing some very interesting stuff in right now. And so
absolutely.
It's just hard because it's like Luke Skywalker is Star Wars Pikachu. And so, like, what would it look like for a Pokemon game to not have Pikachu? You know what I mean?
Him and Vader.
Yeah, him and Vader are just kind of like the faces of the franchise. And so it's difficult to move on. I get that. But I think from a content perspective, it would be really nice to kind of get out of... but then you have the people who are like, I'm an old school Star Wars guy. Give me the Skywalker stuff, And so then you split a fan base that way. But listen, the stuff that's come out on Disney Plus, I think, has been the best Star Wars content yet. Obviously, The Mandalorian is up there. I'm excited about Andor. I actually never saw Rogue One, and Rogue One is doing like a little return to theaters bit to kind of also kick off Andor. So I'm assuming they're connected.
Yes. Yeah. You don't even know what happens to him?
No.
His character, where he goes? Okay.
No.
All right.
I know nothing. So
listeners, I'm going to wink to you right now, okay? Wink.
Yeah. You guys know where he goes. Quick, here's a picture of Jude Law. So I'm excited. I haven't seen the Star Wars animated stuff. I have been sleeping on, and I know that's kind of a travesty just because it's so good. Some of it, maybe.
A lot of it.
I didn't really get into the Bad Batch season 1, and so Bad Batch season 2, fine. Tales of the Jedi CGI animated shorts, fine. I'm very excited for Ahsoka, just because that feels in line with, we saw her in the Mandalorian, and so this little Mandalorian timeline that we have, I actually think is really great.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to see them continue to build on that and to flesh that out a little bit. It's too bad that the Book of Boba Fett didn't really do that good. And so maybe that's the single blemish on the Disney Plus Star Wars record. But I feel like everything else that I've seen has been really top notch and really fun. So
yeah, I agree. I think The Mandalorian is still what I'm the most excited for. And it's interesting that you're so excited for Ahsoka. It's testament to how well they handled her in season 2, because that's a Clone Wars character, right? And I'm personally interested in seeing it because I love the Clone Wars. I saw the trailer for the Clone Wars animated movie when I was a kid, and I was like 7, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And so I've been a Clone Wars fan as long as the Clone Wars has existed. And so seeing Ahsoka get her own show and be in live action and it be like a big deal is really exciting. But Mandalorian did such a good job introducing her to the normies out there like you, the Star Wars normies.
Like me.
And that, everybody's excited, which is great. And speaking of the Mandalorian, that and Andor were the only things that we got public trailers for. And I think both of the trailers were fantastic. They got me really excited. Andor, I couldn't care less about when you first told me about it, or when it was first announced, because who cares? I can't really talk about it because you haven't seen Rogue One yet, but
True.
All the characters in Rogue One to me were very plain and very uninteresting, and very just sort of okay. They were there. But this show looks interesting, and it's a prequel to Rogue One, I can tell you that. It just looks like the biggest budget Star Wars thing. Like, I love the volume, I love the technology with the Mandalorian, but there's nothing beats a real location, and it looks like they've got a big budget with real locations and a nice grounded tone and some cool looking Star Wars stuff. And the true beginning of the rebellion, which oddly enough we've really never seen. It's been teased here and there, but it looks like we're finally getting the proper beginning of the rebellion, which is interesting. It's something we haven't seen yet. Yes, I'd want something new, but this is interesting. And the Mandalorian, Mando and Grogu out there flying around, going on adventures, trying to reclaim a fallen city, learning about his past, finding out he was in a cult. It's interesting. Again, a lot of this stuff ties back to Clone Wars. I knew that Mando was in a cult called Death Watch, or I knew that when he was revealed that he was in Death Watch, I knew what that meant. And I've seen The Siege of Mandalore, and Zach, I've got some choice episodes for you to watch because it's some of the best Star Wars stuff ever.
Cool.
But yeah, so this is directly continuing on that story, and that's really exciting to me. So yeah, but I gotta say, maybe the beginning of the new era of Star Wars could be through Skeleton Crew. If this show does well, if it's a good show, which I hope it is, it's just a random little show about some kids being led by Jude Law getting lost in space. What? That's awesome. I've always been advocating for random little stories that play with genre, that play with conventions in the Star Wars universe. It's such a big universe. Let's tell different stories. So I'm super excited for Skeleton Crew. And if it takes off and it leads into like a new... I don't even need it to be a universe. Just like, give me like a bunch of Star Wars anthology series. Give me a murder mystery in Star Wars. Give me a comedy in Star Wars. I'll take it all, baby! So that's probably what intrigues me the most.
Yeah, where are my Star Wars rom-coms, right? Get McConaughey in there now.
That would be incredible.
That would be really funny, actually. But no, yeah, agree with all that you said. I'm not as much into the Star Wars lore and canon as yourself, but do find myself more and more interested in it. So hopefully, these things land and they continue to make good stuff. And who am I kidding? Even if it doesn't land, they're going to continue to make Star Wars. It's one of their juggernauts. So
you can't escape it, baby.
Can't escape it. Moving on, we just kind of briefly going through kind of the rest of what was here. So from Disney, we got some live action princess. We caught a trailer for The Little Mermaid with Halle Bailey. Is that you say her name?
I think so.
Playing Ariel, and also got our first glimpse at the Snow White live action featuring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot.
Okay, let me wait. Oh, hold on. We got to talk about these two for a second. I got to talk about these. I just got to note.
Please.
The trailer for Little Mermaid was public. There was just a cast announcement for Snow White. Pinocchio. I watched Pinocchio. It was so very bad. I think they soiled it. Just think they need to stop with these live action remakes. I can't get excited. I know people love Halle Bailey, and I'm sure she'll do great, but I just don't see. I hate that they all make $1 billion. I hate that they keep making them. I want Disney to tell new stories. They didn't build their legacy off of just doing the same thing over and over again. That was not what Walt wanted to do. He always would do one thing. It would do amazing, and it'd be like, okay, next challenge. And this is not a challenge for them, clearly, because they're pumping them out like a factory. And so these I have no excitement for. I gotta be honest. And that's that on that. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know that I have much else to say. I maybe feel a little more excited about them than you, but I haven't seen Pinocchio yet. I have seen the rest of the live action stuff. But I think that's kind of where my excitement ends. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm excited for this. But I've also seen these stories before, and I don't know that I need them in live action. So, but we got some more live action. Some of this stuff is original. Some of this is continuing, but we caught a glimpse at Mufasa, the Lion King, which is a prequel, which I'm actually probably of all of this stuff, maybe the most excited for. I think that'll be really fun and interesting to kind of go back to the Lion King story. Don't sigh on me. That's gonna be good stuff, and you know it. We also got a trailer for Peter Pan and Wendy, which also stars Jude Law. I'm told the trailer was just a single picture of Jude Law, so that's going around. That's not true. It was an actual trailer. We also got a look at Haunted Mansion with Jamie Lee Curtis. That is coming out next year. And then we also got a trailer for Disenchanted, a sequel to the 2007 hit Enchanted with Amy Adams and McDreamy or McSteamy, whichever one.
Okay, so that's the live action stuff.
Yeah,
right. Let's
get into these.
Mufasa the Lion King is maybe the most depressing announcement I've ever heard.
What? Oh my God. Okay, why?
The depravity of the Disney live action scene right now is no better showcased than with this. It is a prequel to the live action Lion King movie where you see the story of Mufasa and how he became a king. I am so tired of 1, prequels, 2, Disney live action remakes, and this is both of them. And I don't know, man. It's so unnecessary. It's so, and it's just because that Lion King movie made $1 billion. Like, I don't like to be cynical about Disney parks, but I will get cynical about Disney movies. This is low, and I can't muster any level of excitement for this. I don't even know if I'll go see it, man. I've usually seen all the live action stuff just because, out of obligation or curiosity, because some of them have been decent. Like Beauty and the Beast was fun, and Jungle Book was actually interesting because it had some new things to say. But this is nothing, and I'm so upset. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a desperate attempt to make another $1 billion, I definitely don't think they have something compelling to say. I think this is born out of greed and not out of a desire to tell a compelling narrative. And I can't help but be cynical when I see this. It's laughable to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I am not as cynical about it, but I understand what you're saying more and more. There were some original announcements, which we'll get to, and we'll kind of emphasize why that is important. But yeah, I think the remakes are sad. I will say that. So like the live action princesses, as excited as I am for them, but even like Peter Pan and Wendy, I just wish we used more of the Disney creative talent on original pieces.
Like, look at Hook. Remember Hook? That was
I do remember Hook,
a live action movie set in the Peter Pan universe that was like new and interesting and fun, and it had Robin Williams, and it was just it didn't just, this is just a live action version of a thing you've seen. I'm hoping Peter Pan and Wendy can do that, but freaking making a prequel off of a live action remake? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Switching gears entirely, making a movie based on a Disney park ride is always a good idea. They've not always been hits, but I will always watch them. Okay. And I think obviously Pirates was a success. We say what you will about the rest of the franchise, which rapidly declined in quality, but the first one was great, and it was based off of a ride. And I thought Jungle Cruise was a real fun time. And that's about it. But Country Bear Jamboree we don't talk about. And we don't talk about the first Haunted Mansion either with Eddie Murphy. But this, it's got Jamie Lee Curtis. Come on.
That's its only saving grace at this point. I could not be less excited for the Haunted Mansion movie, and that's my take on it. It honestly, if someone were I feel like I should just go through movies and shows that are coming out and just rate them as watchable or skippable. Those are my predictions. Watchable or skippable. Those are the only things that we really need to know. Haunted Mansion coming out in 2023 with Jamie Lee Curtis, skippable. Okay. I don't think we need this. I don't think it will be good. And you can quote me on that.
I'm excited about it. I thought Jungle Cruise was a real good time, and if they continue with this sort of Disney Parks cinematic universe, I will be happy and grateful, and I will eat it up and scoop it up, because here's my thing. I'm a Disney Parks fan first and foremost, and I appreciate the stories that the parks have to say. I don't go to Disneyland to see the movies come to life. I go to Disneyland to see what Disneyland has to say. Not to say that seeing the movies come to life is nothing. I do love that and I enjoy it, but it's not the primary or the most enchanting aspect about the parks. I think Walt's vision for the park was more than just a corporate synergy machine. And so, weirdly enough, seeing the stories from the parks in different mediums, with a different take, with a creative vision, and with the queen of horror, Jamie Lee Curtis, that just excites me to see something I love brought to the forefront and given so much, pomp and circumstance and a time and attention and money. It's just exciting to me. And I love the Haunted Mansion ride, and Zach doesn't love it as much as I do, which is I can't fathom it.
Listen. It's fine. It's a fine ride, but call me when they do a Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters movie, okay? I'm not talking about a Toy Story. I'm talking about an Astro Blasters movie, all right?
Okay, because they did just do Lightyear. You know that, right?
Oh, my. If you think that's an Astro Blasters movie, you're off your rocker, son. We also got a trailer for Disenchanted. The first Enchanted was really well received, and people really liked it, I think. And so
that's an example of a live-action movie done right, baby.
Yeah, and now they're making a sad one. Oh, so I don't really know what this is going to be about.
It's just Amy Adams doing WandaVision. That's what everybody's been saying, and it looks accurate, and I'm here for that.
Cool. Great. We also got some announcements for some original pieces. Thank God. We got to look at the animated series Owaju, which will explore a futuristic version of Lagos, Nigeria. That'll hit Disney Plus. They showed some stuff about Strange World, which comes to theaters later this year. And then we also got the announcement of an animated musical movie, Wish, which explores the concept of wishing upon a star, which I think is just kind of a funny idea. My thoughts on these really quick. I am very excited about Owaju. I think that Disney has not done enough with African culture. And so I think African cultures are just really vibrant and interesting and animated. And so I think this will be really cool. We haven't seen anything Disney has done in Nigeria. And so I think continuing to build on that will be fun. In the way that Coco was like really well done and fun, right? I like that's kind of what I'm comparing it to in my mind, and really hoping for in terms of connection to culture and connection to just values, but also just like production values and entertainment. I think I would really love to see it go that way.
Yes, but I would temper those expectations a little bit because Coco was Pixar, this is Disney Animation, and this is a series. So
yeah,
there could be some differences there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And so I get that. I think though I would like to see some of, I don't know, just some of the Coco magic and pizzazz that I know Disney Animation can.
Pizzazz,
you know what
baby.
I mean? Pizzazz, baby. But Strange World and Wish, I'll probably watch them. I'm not like chomping at the bit to see these things, but I'm at least happy that more original movies are coming out, or series are coming out, and I will gladly support that whenever I can.
Yes, I am excited that these are original and that they're coming out and that they're animated. I do think that Wish is really funny conceptually. In an age of prequels and or origin stories, we're getting a wishing star origin story, and that it's so unnecessary, and I think it's hilarious. I don't know that it will be good, but it's so weird that I have to see it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Moving on to Pixar. We are getting another sequel, which this one is one of those rare instances where getting a sequel is going to be a good thing. Inside Out 2 is coming out, which will follow teenage Riley. There'll be new emotions. Amy Poehler's coming back. Inside Out, the first one was an instant classic, right? Like that's one of those movies you watch and you're like, what a polished piece of work. Like it was just so amazing. And so 9 years later, we are getting a sequel. And I think that
crazy.
Is
9 years.
Just a lot of fun. I know. Well, so we're not quite 9 years out. This will come out June 2024.
Okay.
By that time, it will be 9 years later. The first one came out in 2015. I feel really excited for this. Inside Out. It's kind of a sad movie, but it's not like one that I would just like put on to have in the background. But it is just like such a well put together piece of art.
Yes.
And I'm excited for Inside Out 2 to hopefully meet that standard and to kind of grow with that. But what do you think?
I'm cautiously optimistic. It's been a while since Pixar's made a good sequel, unfortunately. I think the only really great sequel that they've made is Toy Story 2. I have not liked Incredibles 2. I've not liked Finding Dory. I have not liked Cars 2. But I love Inside Out. It's a top tier Pixar movie. It's so good, and like a perfect movie. And so I hope they can sort of recapture some of that magic and tell a new story at the same time. It's a tough task. Right. Inside Out's one of those movies that I didn't think needed a sequel. Like I don't need to see an Up 2 still up there or something, you know, like sure. Up 2 down. I don't need that. But This was a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. That's what I'll say. To quote Emperor Palpatine.
Yes. Some new stuff we're getting. We're getting a movie called Elemental. We're also getting a new movie, Elio, and we're also getting a new animated series, Win or Lose. Of these, it's almost hard to predict with Pixar. The one thing you can't predict is that it'll be good, right? Like I think whenever I see a Pixar movie, for the most part,
the expectation is good.
Yes,
there have
the
been
expectation
stinkers,
of a Pixar.
But those are surprises.
I would say for the most part, if I'm watching a Pixar movie, it'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Cars 3, but beyond
Good
that,
Dinosaur.
like or Good Dinosaur, yeah. But I mean, they have set up a reputation for themselves to be, a production company of quality, and so,
Yes.
But it's like, what's Elemental gonna be about? I know we have some info about it.
It's like a forbidden
same
love.
Yes, same thing with Elio, but it's like the actual storylines and story beats to them. It's kind of like, what is this? What are these things? I don't really feel like I need to know. I'm excited about them. I think, they will either be fun or good pieces of art or both. I'm also excited about the new series, Win or Lose, that follows a middle school softball team.
You are.
That just feels fun. Yes,
Okay.
I will definitely be watching that.
All right.
Apparently, each episode that takes place jumps perspective from main character to main character, and so I do think that'll be fun. Pixar doing a sports thing.
Yeah, has Pixar done a series?
I don't. I guess the Cars series.
Well, like a show.
Is that done by Pixar?
Oh
No.
yeah.
Because Cars has a series now, doesn't it?
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then that.
Is that being done by Pixar? I'm assuming it is.
Probably. But this is definitely. So I mean, even with that one, this is new territory for them.
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is. But I'm excited for these. I don't really have much else to say other than that. Other than I expect them to be good. I expect them to be of good quality.
Yep.
And I'm excited for them. But
Yep. I'm excited that this lineup is not like. I'm excited that the only sequel here is Inside Out 2. I'm glad we're not getting it's Inside Out 2, it's Incredibles 3, it's Up 2, it's Coco 2. I'm glad that there's one sequel and 3 original things coming out. That's what I'll say. I don't know. It's too early to comment. I feel like for me on Elemental and Elio, but I'm glad they're not sequels.
Yeah. And then I will just breeze through these last 3 things that we saw. We got a little call-in from James Cameron to discuss the long-awaited, you guessed it, sequel, Avatar: The Way of the Water. They also got, I guess the crowd was given 3D glasses to watch some footage. So that comes out this December, which I'm excited for. We also got an Indiana Jones 5 trailer, which
at D23.
Matt is excited for. At D23, that was not released publicly. I also assume the 3D footage was not released.
Yes,
publicly.
We haven't seen that.
Yeah. And then lastly, more Halloween content. Hocus Pocus 2 is coming to Disney Plus this year. So, I'm most excited about Avatar: The Way of Water. I think my biggest cinematic sin, maybe other than the fact that I haven't seen The Lord of the Rings, is that I also haven't seen the Indiana Jones series. So I'm not super stoked.
Man.
I know. You know what? They should have made them video games.
my
Indiana Jones 5. I'm sure people are excited about that. I don't know. Is Indiana Jones to a point where we're kind of like beating a dead horse, or have we not hit that point?
Yes, we are. So the movies end at 3. He literally rides off into the sunset, and Steven Spielberg said he was done then. And then they brought him back to make 4, and it was so bad. But 5 seems like, okay, guys, we know that one was bad. Let's give him a proper send-off. And so it's confirmed that this is the last one for real. And apparently it's good. Harrison Ford got up on stage and like started crying. He got like really emotional that this was like the last one for real. And it was the first time I've ever seen Harrison Ford get emotional, or at least in a long time. because he doesn't care about a lot of things. And so it was great to he was like really proud of it. And like, of course he's supposed to hype it up, but like usually he's just like, we made this movie, but he was genuinely like, this is great. And I'm like, okay. I love the original 3 Indiana Jones movies. Again, there's a lot of nostalgia there for me, classic adventure films. And if Harrison likes this one and is excited about it, is proud of it, I'm excited to see it. And Halloween content. Disney, like Werewolf by Night, we got Hocus Pocus 2. There's more outright cool. acknowledgement of Halloween by Disney, which is amazing. I think they should keep making more Halloween stuff because they go crazy with like Christmas specials, and Halloween gets like, you can rewatch Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's like, okay, thanks. I will, but can you make something else? And so this is I'm glad they're leaning into it. It's exciting.
Yeah, totally. Those two, Hocus Pocus 2, great. Indiana Jones 5, again, kind of mentioned that. I am very interested in Avatar: The Way of the Water.
Big blue person head, aren't you?
The Way of Water, not the water. Yes and no. I think Avatar is one of the few movies I saw in theaters like multiple times. When it first came out. However, I am definitely going to have to rewatch the first one before I go and see the sequel.
Yeah.
However, as good of a story that it was, I think at the time it was just more of like such a CG marvel that like that's what got people. You know what I mean? People weren't like, oh man, like you need to go read the book before you go see Avatar. You know, like it's not a big story thing. But like, can they capitalize on that? Are they going to make the sacrifices to potentially like not make as much revenue on this movie? I imagine it'll do numbers, right? That's not what I'm saying. I don't think people are lacking interest. I think people are definitely going to go see this thing, especially because they're re-releasing the first Avatar in theaters, and then people can just go and see the second one. That's awesome. But I'm not necessarily as interested in the story as I am like, is this going to be another like cinematic marvel in sort of like, are we going to look back at this and be like, whoa, in the year 2022, Marvel: The Way of Water was so far ahead of its time, you know?
Yes, Avatar: The Way of Water. You said Marvel: The Way of Water, and I love that. I agree with you. I think it's also, the world is very interesting and just like nice to be in. And speaking as someone who's been in the world with Pandora, the World of Avatar in Disney World at Florida, I am excited about this just because I like that setting so much.
Yeah.
And I like the theme park, and it brings back memories of going to the theme park now, seeing it. So, and I hope he can take the lessons he learned from the first one and maybe expand on the narrative, maybe make it more interesting and compelling, and make the characters stand out a little more, make them pop a little more than they did in the first one. Because they were okay, but they didn't, pop, right? Nobody's out here being like, who's your favorite, who's your favorite movie hero? Nobody's first. No, Jake Sully is not anybody's top 10 favorite cinema hero, right? So if he can make something that looks as good as it does and has a more compelling narrative, I'm in. This is exciting. I do think it's interesting that he's still pushing 3D. I thought we kind of moved on from that, but he's still out here. I wonder how much subsidies the 3D companies are giving him. I don't know. Like, it's weird. Why are you pushing it so much, Jimmy Cams?
I know.
Jimmy Cams with your 3D.
What's the last big 3D movie we had? I don't even know if I could pull that off the top of my head.
I think the last movie I saw in 3D was probably the Lego movie.
Was it the first Avatar? Was that the last 3D movie we had? Just joking. Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. I have no plans of seeing this in 3D.
No.
I do remember in the first one people like passing out when seeing it in 3D, so that was kind of
Whoa,
interesting.
yeah.
That they decided to double down. Like, you know what? People need to really pass out on this one. Do it again.
People pass out all the time, though.
Yeah, people are passing out for crazy things. Yeah, so I'm excited to see it. I probably will try to see it in like IMAX and stuff like that, which is interesting that it's like I really want to see it in IMAX, but I don't want to see it in 3D. 3D just feels kind of gimmicky. It always has, but like IMAX feels pretty substantial. So
or Dolby.
Maybe that's why. Dolby, yeah. Everyone's got their own IMAX these days. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, but that does it. That is our D23 roundup.
Woof.
What a ride. What a weekend it was in Disney World. But Matt, why don't you send us out?
All right. Thanks for listening to this chunker of an episode. Thanks for sticking with us. If you made it to this part, you're a real one, and I'm gonna give you a fist pump. Fist pump? I'm gonna pump my fist for you. Woo! You didn't see it, but I did do it. I did do it. So yeah, thanks for listening to this big D23 recap episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BatteryLowBlog for both of those, and read all of our stories on our website, batterylow.co. Our theme song is Echoes by HurricaneTurtle. Be sure to check out that track. We will see you next time, and folks, check your batteries.